Okay, Pamela, so you were in London then by yourself, right?
Yes.
Because
are we recording?
Yes.
Okay, so to just give people a perspective of the family situation, my daughter, when she was younger, for 2 years, she traveled with Jay-Z and Beyonce on tour. She worked with them. So he was Uncle Jay. So move many, many, many years forward.
Sí, la hija de Pamela, como ya nos ha explicado, cuando ella había sido más joven, viajó durante 3 años con Jay-Z y Beyoncé, y por eso a Jay-Z se le conocía como Uncle Jay. Jay-Z was known as Uncle Jay, right?
Sí.
Okay, great. So now.
I had begun my life with David in 1997, or actually January of 1998.
Pamela había empezado su vida con David en enero de 1998.
So at this point in time, we're jumping ahead a bit, but this particular moment, oh golly, how can I say this? It's a little, I want to be very clear for the audience. Okay, so David and I, there's a part that I'd like to explain about how we met in Aruba. Then it brings us forward to me living on the Isle of Wight. David and I had gotten married, and during that time, which was then in 2004, where I went to London, David stayed home because Randy, my ex-husband, was there with Jay-Z and Beyonce at the Princess Trust, and I went with the purpose of giving Jay-Z David's book, The Biggest Secret.
And this was in 2004, right?
Sí.
Okay. Bueno, pues entonces en el año 2004, Randy, el ex marido de Pamela, estaba en Londres con Jay-Z y Beyoncé. Y entonces Pamela quería ir a Londres para darle a Jay-Z una copia del libro The Biggest Secret. Randy was in London with Jay-Z and Beyoncé, correct?
Sí.
That's right. And you wanted to go there to give a copy of The Biggest Secret to Jay-Z, sorry, right?
Sí.
All right, good.
So I arrived and I actually spent the night. So I was there for quite a while, to the concert, then after hours. So I actually got a feel for what it was like to be a celebrity like that.
Estuvo ahí unas horas en el concierto y las horas después del concierto y empezó a entender un poco, Pamela, lo que es la vida cuando eres una persona famosa, una celebridad.
So I arrived at the hotel.
Así que Pamela llegó al hotel.
Then we all left in the entourage to the Wembley Stadium.
Entonces todos partieron en el séquito que marchaba hacia el estadio de Wembley.
It is here backstage that I met Beyoncé and Jay-Z.
Es aquí, fuera del escenario, cuando Pamela conoció a Jay-Z y Beyoncé.
Some interesting things I noticed.
Well, had you met Jay-Z and Beyoncé before?
At the hotel.
Oh, only at the hotel, right?
No. I went to the hotel and then I met them backstage at the concert.
Vale,
and
entonces,
we were staying at the same hotel, you see. The band, Jay-Z, Beyonce, me, Randy, the whole gang. We were all at the Landsborough Hotel.
Sí, estaban Pamela y todos estaban en el Landsborough Hotel, en el hotel de Landsborough. Y es ahí donde se reunió con ellos. Sí.
Sí. So I rode the entourage in the cars. I rode in the vehicle that carried the members of the dancers, for Beyonce and Jay?
Vale, Pamela fue en el vehículo que llevaba los bailarines para Jay-Z y Beyoncé. The dancers were both for Jay-Z and Beyoncé.
Sí, it was a Beyonce concert. Actually.
It was a Beyoncé concert. Era un concierto a dúo entre los dos. Vale, bien, de acuerdo.
Sí. And the car behind us were Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Vale, y el coche que iba detrás de ellos era el de Jay-Z y Beyoncé.
Sí. It was very interesting because backstage in the green room,
fuera del escenario, en la sala verde,
you know, champagne, the dancers, Beyonce's girls were there.
Había champán, bailes y las chicas de Beyoncé estaban ahí.
I sat next to Beyonce, chatting, talking with her. It was right next. It was very close, very intimate. She's a lovely lady.
Vale, Pamela estuvo muy cerca de Beyoncé y era una persona muy afable, muy adorable. Estuvo ahí pasando un rato majo con ella. Sí.
What I found interesting was before she went on stage.
Antes de que Beyoncé saliera al escenario.
She went into a private room with her, into a private room.
Beyoncé fue a una sala privada.
I was standing outside that room, and her bodyguard was also standing outside her door.
Pamela estaba a la espera fuera de la habitación y su guardaespaldas también estaba afuera de la habitación, sí.
The door opened as she walked out. It was almost like she was in a trance.
La puerta se abrió y cuando Beyoncé salió es como si Beyoncé estuviera en trance.
She was guided to the stage by her bodyguard who kept everyone away from her.
Beyoncé fue guiada al escenario por sus guardaespaldas que se aseguraban de que nadie se acercase a ella.
And after the concert, we all went to dinner.
Después del concierto todos fueron a cenar.
At dinner, for those that might not know, I don't know, but a very well-known artist, Billy Preston.
En la cena, un artista muy conocido, Billy Preston. Can you type the last name?
Sí.
Billy Preston.
Oh, Billy Preston. Okay, good.
Preston.
See, he was a keyboard player, black. He was a black man.
Era un tecladista, tocaba el teclado. He was black, I mean, he was African American?
Sí.
Yeah, sí, era negro de raza, sí.
Very well.
También era cantante. He was a singer too. Okay, good.
Sí. I was sitting at the end of the table. There were about 12 of us in this restaurant.
Pamela estaba al final de la mesa. Había 12 personas en este restaurante. There were 12 of you, right?
Sí.
Okay, good.
Randy was to my right.
Randy, el ex marido de Pamela, estaba a la derecha de Pamela.
Billy Preston leaned over me, asking Randy if he could talk to Jay-Z.
Billy Preston se dirigió a Pamela y le preguntó a Randy si podía hablar con Jay-Z.
I witnessed how professional these people are.
Pamela vio lo profesionales que son estas personas.
Randy kindly put his hand up and said, "Not now."
Randy levantó su mano y dijo, ahora no.
So it was interesting how two very well-known stars, Jay-Z and Billy Preston,
Era interesante ver cómo dos estrellas muy conocidas, Jay-Z y Billy Preston,
Jay-Z wanted his space.
Jay-Z quería su propio espacio.
After dinner, I thought we were going back to the hotel.
Después de la cena, creía Pamela que iban a ir de vuelta al hotel.
Oh no, the paparazzi were outside.
No, los paparazzi estaban esperando afuera.
Randy was saying, just get in the van.
Randy estaba diciendo, métete en la furgoneta, en la limusina. Bueno, sería más bien furgoneta, sí.
Off we went to the nightclub.
Así que se fueron al club nocturno.
I walked in with Beyonce. She was to my right. We were touching arms pretty much. It was myself and the entourage. I was next to the left of Beyonce. As we walk in,
Pamela iba a la izquierda de Beyoncé conforme entraban al club. You were to the left of Beyoncé, you say?
sí.
Okay, good.
As we walk in, I heard it was someone say, "Oh, she's so pretty," meaning Beyonce.
Conforme entraban, oyó que alguien decía, oh, qué guapa, refiriéndose a Beyoncé.
We went back and up into a very private section.
Se dirigieron arriba a una sección muy privada.
I was standing on a ledge. There was music playing and I was sort of dancing on my own. To my left in the booth were Jay-Z and her girls chatting, and Jay-Z was here. You know, the entourage was over there, but I was standing here in between these two pillars up, and the bar was to the right, and I was kind of just dancing. So I had a bird's eye view of everything going on down there to the left and right in this nightclub.
I'm not gonna translate everything, but that's fine. Pamela tenía una vista privilegiada de todo lo que sucedía, estaba bailando con todos ahí, sí.
And the reason I had a good bird's eye view was because I saw Alicia Keys walk in.
Vale, Pamela vio a Alicia Keys venir caminando.
She walks over to Beyonce's table and they start talking.
Se acerca a la mesa de Beyoncé y empiezan a hablar.
It was very quick. We were in for a moment to make an appearance, I guess, and then we left.
Vale, estuvieron ahí por un momento para hacer una actuación y se marcharon.
I really don't know why we even went.
Pamela se pregunta siquiera de por qué fueron.
So the next day,
El día siguiente,
I was in a big conference room where Jay-Z was being interviewed by two people at the end of the room.
Pamela estaba en una sala de conferencia muy grande, donde Jay-Z estaba siendo entrevistado por dos personas importantes. Jay-Z was being interviewed by two important persons, right?
Sí.
Okay, good.
I was alone.
Vale, Pamela estaba ahí a sola.
And I filmed it under the table.
Y Pamela lo filmó por debajo de la mesa, vale.
I have lots of film of this adventure, but I'm very respectful of everything and everyone.
Pamela tiene esto bastante filmado de todo esto, pero respeta la privacidad es muy respetuosa de esto.
And before the concert, the night before, I asked Jay-Z if I could film the audience outside standing in line.
Vale, antes del concierto preguntó, you asked Jay-Z?
Sí.
Vale, antes del concierto Pamela preguntó a Jay-Z si podía filmar a la audiencia guardando cola, esperando para el concierto.
Because I wasn't into Jay-Z's music.
Vale, Pamela no estaba muy enganchada a la música de Jay-Z.
I had never heard of it.
Nunca la había oído antes.
And the lines outside were very long.
Las líneas afuera, o sea, las colas afuera eran muy largas.
So I took my camera out interviewing the kids.
Vale, Pamela sacó la cámara y entrevistó a los niños. You interviewed the kids as the children?
Well, teenagers.
Teenagers. Pamela entrevistó a los adolescentes que se citaban ahí. You interviewed the teenagers, right?
Yes, they were kids to me.
Yeah, kids, yeah. Okay, good.
And the interesting thing was the question I asked them was, what brought you, why do you like Jay-Z's music? What brought you here?
Lo que Pamela le preguntó a estos adolescentes era qué es lo que les atraía de la música de Jay-Z.
It was odd for me because every one of them pretty much said the money.
Lo que todos respondieron unánimemente casi, y Pamela se sorprendió, es que todos dijeron el dinero.
Curioso.
It was all about the money.
Todo sobre el dinero.
So it was quite interesting. So that was the how Jay-Z received the book, The Biggest Secret.
Así que es así como Jay-Z recibió la copia del libro de The Biggest Secret.
I learned a lot.
Pamela aprendió mucho.
I never want to be famous.
Pamela no quiere ser famosa.
So from there, if we could go, I'd like to clarify when I met David real quick.
That's right, that's right. You mean the statement that I made about the one, right?
No. This would be, if I could just start from, this is how David and I connected. It's
okay.
Real quick.
Yeah, but be brief because we already covered that, I believe. It's just if you want to make a correction or something, I guess.
Well, okay, I have it written out and it'll be quick.
Okay.
Because I missed some really important keys. So what I'll say is, this is how David and I connected.
Okay. Es así como David y Pamela conectaron.
On the Friday night when all attendees arrived in Aruba, there was a reception by the pool, a casual meet and greet gathering.
El viernes por la noche, cuando todos se reunieron en Aruba, había una reunión junto a la piscina.
David was in his room writing The Biggest Secret.
David estaba en su habitación escribiendo The Biggest Secret.
And later told me he decided to walk down to the pool, make an appearance, then go back to his room to continue writing.
David luego le contó que quería bajar abajo a la piscina, hacer aparecer ahí y después volver a su habitación a seguir escribiendo The Biggest Secret.
He is a very focused man.
Él es un hombre que tiene el foco y las ideas muy claras y se propone una cosa y se centra en eso. Sí.
So he walked out of the hotel.
Así que se marchó del hotel.
And as he was walking down the steps towards the pool,
y conforme andaba por las escaleras hacia la piscina,
I just happened to be walking up. There was no one else around.
Pamela caminó hacia arriba por las escaleras, no había nadie más.
I had no intentions of stopping. I looked up and we caught eyes.
Pamela no tenía intención de parar, pero miró hacia arriba y sus miradas se cruzaron.
I was going to continue on, but he stopped and said hello. Therefore, I stopped and said hello.
Pamela iba a continuar, pero se paró, él dijo hola y entonces Pamela se paró y dijo hola también.
He told me later that the reason he stopped was as soon as he saw me, he thought, oh my God, is this the one? Meaning, am I the one the psychic described?
Yes. Entonces, David después confesó que el motivo por el cual él se paró es porque se preguntó si ella era the one, no la mujer de su vida, yo lo había traducido mal en la parte anterior de la entrevista, sino la mujer en concreto de la que le había hablado el vidente.
We both turned around, walked down to the pool and talked.
Los dos miraron al otro lado. You both walked to the pool, you say?
Sí.
Los dos caminaron hacia la piscina y hablaron, sí.
Something was happening, it was very powerful, and this is where it began. The spark was ignited.
Algo muy poderoso sucedió y es así como empezó y la chispa, pues, prendió chispa. La relación era muy intensa. la química, la energía, la relación entre los dos, sí.
And what the psychic said,
Y lo que el vidente dijo,
all those points happened.
todos esos puntos sucedieron.
David did ask me out on the night or the day to dinner.
Todos los puntos que dijo el vidente sucedieron. David le pidió a Pamela durante el día y la noche para cenar, sí.
It was as if we were joined at the hip.
Era como si se juntasen por la cadera, sí.
We became inseparable. It hurt deeply to be apart.
Se volvieron inseparables. You mean it hurt to be apart?
Oh, yes.
You mean it kind of hurt, H-U-R-T.
Well, emotionally, it was,
Emotionally, yeah. Dice que era incluso doloroso ser una parte de la relación porque había mucha involucración emocional. Estaban muy involucrados emocionalmente, sí.
Yes, I was wearing a gown.
Sí, y Pamela llevaba un vestidito, sí.
It wasn't mauve, but very close to it. It was pastel yellow.
No era rosita, pero era amarillo pastel.
The psychic said she knows everyone. She's rich, but what is rich? Rich in the heart.
El vidente había dicho que Pamela conoce a todo el mundo y que es rica, pero que es la riqueza, sino la riqueza de corazón, sí.
I did know everyone in my business.
Pamela sí que conocía a todo el mundo en su negocio.
It was quite funny because David and I were standing in the hall and people were passing by whom I knew saying, "Hello, Pamela. Hello, David."
Sí, porque estaban en el hall y entonces la gente pasaba por ahí y decía, hola Pamela, hola David. Era como si Pamela los conociese a todos, en definitiva, sí.
So this is how it began. It was very surreal.
Es así como empezó, era bastante surrealista, sí.
David left for England and I left for Arizona.
David se fue a Inglaterra y Pamela se fue a Arizona.
From then on, we began traveling and working together.
Y entonces empezaron a viajar juntos, sí.
Eventually, I moved to England and we got married on September 20th at 11 a.m.
Entonces fueron a Inglaterra y se casaron. Wasn't it September? You mean September 20th?
Sí.
Se casaron en Inglaterra el 20 de septiembre a las 11 de la mañana, ¿no?
Curioso la fecha, 20 estamos en 2020.
Sí.
I was wrong in my date before.
Okay, yes. No, fue el 20 de septiembre, sí.
I said 11, but it wasn't November, it was September.
You may have said it off the record. That's why I didn't want to make much of a fuss about it. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was 9 days after 9/11, though.
Era 9 días después del 11S.
We chose that day on purpose.
Eligieron esa fecha adrede, sí.
Sí. So, where do you want to go from here?
Okay. Well, I think that now we can go to when you met, for example, Sue Ford and Arizona Wilder and Christine Fitzgerald. We can talk about that.
Yes, because the thing is, for the audience, it's a whole series of interviews purely on what happened in my relationship with David between that time and our divorce. So without going into too much of the detail, because we want to get to some real points here about what's happening with the coronavirus today. We want to get to the points of the key points of the existence of other beings and reptilians in our world, confirming that we're not alone on the planet. Those are key things, and all. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with how it was a little difficult for me when I came into the extended family.
Vale. Fue un poco difícil para Pamela el llegar a la familia extendida de David Icke, sí. You mean David Icke's extended family, right?
My extended family being David Icke's family.
Ajá. No, la familia extendida de Pamela pasando a ser entonces la familia de David Icke. So, yes.
We start off with knowing that David and I could not be separated.
Vale, David y Pamela no se podían separar.
The connection was so strong, nothing could take us apart.
La conexión era tan fuerte que nada les podía separar.
So when I moved to England, it was tough for everyone, really.
Cuando Pamela se fue a Inglaterra era duro para todos.
Eventually, the family and I became very good friends.
You mean David's family?
Sí.
Entonces, luego ya la familia de David Icke y Pamela se hicieron al final amigos, sí.
They accepted me in.
La aceptaron a Pamela.
And I worked with them.
Y Pamela trabajó con ellos.
All was good.
Todo marchaba bien.
David and I were traveling.
David y Pamela estaban viajando.
I was the one who suggested David get his own website.
I think you already told us that.
Okay.
Sí, Pamela sugirió a David que montase su propia web.
Sí, I was David's personal assistant, basically.
Pamela era la asistente personal de David Icke, sí.
I was managing, coordinating the events, his talking events.
Pamela estaba llevando los eventos, conferencias, etcétera, sí.
Keeping the website up to date, the schedule, etc.
Pamela mantenía la web de David Icke al día, etcétera.
When we were in Vancouver one time,
cuando estaban en Vancouver una vez,
David was being interviewed.
David estaba siendo entrevistado.
I was at a store called the FBI store. It was all about surveillance equipment.
Ajá, estaban en una tienda que se venía de título de FBI Store, la tienda del FBI, todo sobre equipo de vigilancia.
I was talking to the owner and another person in the back.
Pamela estaba hablando con el dueño y con otra persona al fondo.
The gentleman that I was talking to the left of me.
El caballero al que Pamela se estaba dirigiendo, sí.
Had a baseball cap that said Hollywood.
Este caballero tenía un gorro de béisbol que decía Hollywood.
What happened next was very quick.
Lo que sucedió a continuación fue muy rápido.
I looked into his eyes and they turned completely black.
Pamela miró a los ojos de este caballero y se volvieron completamente negros.
With little white tornadoes in the center.
Con pequeños tornados blancos en el centro.
It was as if the energy was very strange. It took me by surprise.
La energía era muy extraña y le sorprendió mucho a Pamela.
I was taken aback and turned away.
You mean you were taken aback?
I was shocked. I was
right. Pamela entró en tal estado de shock, de sorpresa, que bueno, pues que estaba súper sorprendida, ¿no?
See, when I turned back, he was okay. In that moment, I knew there was something within me. Whatever was in him showed itself to me.
Entonces Pamela se dio cuenta de que había algo dentro de Pamela y que lo que fuera que ese caballero tenía dentro, se lo había mostrado a Pamela.
He admitted that he spent a lot of time in Hollywood and has missing time.
You mean the guy with the baseball hat?
Sí.
El caballero con el gorro de béisbol admitió que pasaba mucho tiempo en Hollywood y que le faltaba tiempo. O sea, tenía intervalos de tiempo de los que no se acordaba, no tenía recolección de lo que había pasado, sí.
There's no doubt in my mind that he wasn't a pure reptilian, but he was definitely possessed.
Pamela no tenía ninguna duda de que este caballero a lo mejor no era un reptiliano puro, pero estaba poseído.
We shall just say that there was someone else in his house.
Digamos sencillamente que había alguien más compartiendo la casa, que en sentido metafórico esto es el cuerpo de este caballero.
So that was all confirmed by him as well. He did admit that he knew about it, you know, when I brought it up.
What do you mean, when you brought it up to him?
Yes, he admitted that he was aware of this being in him.
Ok. Que cuando Pamela se lo comentó a este caballero admitió que era consciente de que había otra entidad dentro de él, sí.
This was my first experience and I explained it to David.
So this was your first experience of direct contact with reptilian possession?
Sí.
Esta fue la primera experiencia que tuvo Pamela de contacto con posesión reptiliana, sí.
And of course, David was in the process of writing The Biggest Secret. I was with him when he was interviewing others who have had these experiences. You can read the book to get the details there. But so this was all unfolding and I was in the middle of it as it was unfolding. It was new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was not surprised.
Yes. Pamela no estaba del todo sorprendida porque estaba entonces con David y él estaba metido de lleno en escribir el libro The Biggest Secret, que luego se traduciría al español como El Mayor Secreto, donde estaban todas estas testigos que habían visto entidades reptilianas y entonces pues todo esto les sucedió, es en este contexto donde le sucedió esto a Pamela. Pamela no se sorprendió por ello, cuando le sucedió a ella directamente.
David said that this was a typical description with the tornado in the center of the eye, which I didn't know.
David le explicó a Pamela que esto era una descripción típica con el tornado blanco en el centro del ojo.
So what I described fits what most people see.
Lo que Pamela ha descrito encaja con lo que otras personas han visto.
The next day or a couple of days later, I'm not sure the time, it doesn't matter, but still in Vancouver.
Ajá. Un par de días después, cuando todavía estaban en Vancouver,
I was walking down Robson Street.
Pamela estaba caminando por la calle Robson. Robson, R-O-B, B de burro, S-O-N, Robson Street, vale. Sí.
Now this sidewalk is very wide.
Esta acera es muy amplia.
And there were shops to the right.
Y había tiendas a la derecha.
I was walking with my head down.
Pamela estaba caminando cabizbaja.
Alone.
Sola.
You know when you can feel someone watching you?
¿Sabes esa sensación de cuando alguien te está mirando?
I look up and to my left, standing on the curb.
Pamela miró hacia arriba y a su izquierda, estando justo ahí en la acera,
was a man.
Había un hombre.
He was facing the street.
Estaba mirando directamente a la calle.
But his head was turned so far, it was oddly turned, like not normal. His head was turned like The Exorcist in a way.
Yeah, like almost he would have been disfigured, right?
Well, not quite, but a little beyond.
Displaced, like almost you would think his neck had been displaced, something
Slight-
not possible. Okay.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
Yeah, su mirada, este hombre estaba mirando hacia atrás tan exageradamente que parecía que se le había descolocado el cuello o algo muy, muy raro.
With his head turned, when I look up, that's what I saw. His head was turned looking at me.
Cuando Pamela miró es cuando vio que la cabeza de este hombre estaba mirando a Pamela.
His eyes were jet black.
Sus ojos eran completamente negros.
He opened his mouth a little bit.
Él abrió su boca un poquito.
And out came a fat, forked tongue.
Oh my God. Y
What?
y salió de su boca una lengua bífida. Dios.
It wasn't thin and long. It was short. Well, it came out and it was fat and it was forked.
Era una lengua gorda y bífida.
Dios, la Virgen Santa.
Oh, sí. It was, you just know that there was a connection. It wanted me to notice him.
Este hombre quería que Pamela viera eso.
He was locked onto me.
Él estaba con la mirada totalmente capturando a Pamela.
It was a bit scary at that moment, and I'm not one to be frightened.
Eso daba un poco de miedo en aquel momento, aunque Pamela no quería ser atemorizada.
But a chill went down me.
Pero un escalofrío recorrió a Pamela.
I put my head down as I walked by him.
Pamela miró hacia abajo conforme pasó al lado de este hombre.
I wanted to turn around and look back.
Pamela quería mirar a un lado y girarse a un lado y mirar hacia atrás.
I turned sideways with my periphery vision looking back.
Pamela se giró a un lado con su mirada de periferia, digamos, mirando hacia atrás.
I could see him looking my way.
Okay. Pamela vio que él le seguía con la mirada.
But I was too afraid to look at him again.
Pero Pamela tenía demasiado miedo como para mirarle otra vez.
So those were my first two experiences there.
O sea que estas fueron las dos primeras experiencias de Pamela ahí. Well, nice. Wow, my God.
I say Vancouver is a hotbed for
Sí.
the reptilians.
Pamela dice que Vancouver es un nido de reptilianos, sí.
Sí, hay algo que, si me permites, Conrado y Pamela, quería comentar. Es que en Vancouver existe el Club Vancouver, donde esta gente hace ese tipo de cosas. Y sí, son los mismos. Vancouver es un lugar que da muchos escalofríos. Sí, sí.
Yeah, Juan was remarking that there is the so-called Vancouver Club where allegedly some rituals are carried out, and that he's not surprised that Vancouver is you've now described it as such a nest of activity of this kind. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll share another story with David and I on our tours, our travels. We went to a lot.
Yeah, but that will come later, I guess,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Well, this involves the Astor family and what happened in this castle.
What you want to dive into this right now, because we're talking about what year this encounter with the Astor thing.
Well, it happened. This is part of my travels with David during this whole time of traveling.
Okay.
All over, and I'm just trying to.
Should we talk about this before or after? Because I would guess that your encounters with Bram Desborough and Arizona Wilder would have taken place before this. Then kind of follow a rough chronological order. That's what I mean.
This happened before Arizona.
Okay, then let's go dive right in and do it now. Yes, explain it now. Okay.
So this was another, and again, this is from Pamela's journey. and what I experienced.
Sure.
We were at which castle was it? It was where the Astor's home. It wasn't Blenheim Palace. I can't remember the name.
Sí, esto tuvo lugar en la residencia de la familia Astor, la reputada familia Astor, sí.
Sí, son de las 13 familias Illuminati.
Sí.
Bundy, Collins, Astor,
Sí.
Love and Dwin también.
Ajá.
The Astor family. I'm trying to look it up here, but anyway, so David and I entered. It's open for tours, and also it's open for people to conferences, and people can sleep in there. But it has this history.
Yes, es una mansión, una residencia grande que está abierta para viajes guiados y también se permite que se hagan conferencias ahí, incluso que la gente duerma ahí. Pero tiene toda esta historia, sí.
To keep it simple, we walk in, no one was in the foyer, and again, it's a castle, it's a huge foyer, fireplace over there, spiral staircase to my right going up. We walk in, but there was a rod that extended out from the door with a curtain to my left, and that's relevant to the story.
Vale, entonces, and this was David and you together, right?
Sí.
Right, entonces David y Pamela entraron a esta mansión grande y esto es relevante porque no había nadie en el hall de la entrada y había como un palo, una vara que salía con una cortina. Sí.
There was no one around. Eventually, a lady came to us, and it was fortunate that we got a private tour.
Una mujer se dirigió a ellos y tuvieron la suerte, Pamela y David, de que consiguieron, digamos, una visita privada.
I have to back up. Before we got the private tour.
Antes de que consiguieran la visita privada.
We entered, and to the left, we sat on. There was furniture, and we sat down.
Vale, antes de la visita privada entraron y había un mueble a la entrada y se sentaron ahí. Sí.
Now picture this. I sit down on a chair facing David.
Let's continue then. You were sitting on this piece of furniture at the entrance, right?
See, so we entered, and to our left was furniture, and we sat down.
Entraron, a su izquierda había un mueble y ahí se sentaron, sí.
And this is where the curtain comes in.
Entonces aparece la cortina esta.
I sit in a chair, a coffee table in the middle, a long one, and on the other end of that coffee table was a chair, and David sat there, and a couch was to the right.
Vale, se sentó, había una mesa de estas de tomar café, al otro lado de la mesa se sentó David y what was on the right of the coffee table?
The long couch.
Y a la derecha de la mesa de café había como un sofá largo.
Sí. So we're facing each other, and all of a sudden.
Vale, entonces Pamela y David se estaban mirando entre ellos y de repente.
I was being choked.
You were being what?
Choked. I had spiritual hands around my neck. I'll call it that.
Okay, Pamela sintió como que unas manos espirituales se le acercaban por el cuello.
It was not a nice spirit.
No era un espíritu agradable.
I was literally being choked.
Oh my goodness, like you were suffocating.
Oh yeah.
Pamela se sintió como que se estaba sofocando.
Yes, I almost couldn't talk.
Pamela casi no podía hablar.
So David's watching this.
David estaba observando esto.
I almost can't breathe. It's squeezing really hard, choking me.
Pamela tenía dificultades para respirar.
David jumps up out of his chair.
David sale de su silla saltando, ¿sí?
Swings his arms up, does something.
Gira bruscamente sus brazos hacia arriba, hace algo.
Basically removing this entity from the room.
Básicamente sacando a esta entidad de la habitación.
And I felt the release from my neck.
Y entonces Pamela se sintió aliviada de su cuello.
It was quite the experience.
Fue menuda experiencia, sí.
So during our travels, we had many experiences like that. The same when we were in Ireland. You know, and this was all before Arizona as well.
Yes. También tuvieron. Okay, yes. Let me explain this in Spanish. También tuvieron más experiencias de este tipo, como una que tuvo lugar en Irlanda.
This is just another one that was very real. In Ireland, we were at it starts with the Drury Hotel, there was a Catholic church right across from the hotel, and there was another Catholic church on the other side. And we were at the Drury Hotel in Ireland, Dublin.
Could you spell the name of the hotel?
Yes, D-R-U-R-Y.
D-R-U-R-Y. The Drury, almost like the Druids. Okay. Sí, estaban en el Hotel Drury en Irlanda y había un par de iglesias católicas al lado. There were 2 Catholic churches by, right?
Sí.
Okay, good.
And we're lying in bed. It was quite dark, you know, quite dark, a little bit eerie. But our hotel, we were on the high floor, and I could see the church outside the window. But what happened was, again, all of a sudden, I was going into, the only way I can describe it were the beings that were coming into the room were dark, long, spindly fingers, very, very evil, really, very evil, demonic. But they were coming in. I could see them in my mind's eye. David was sleeping. They were coming around. Again, I was being choked. My body, I was almost frozen, and I was trying to scream, and I couldn't get it out. And finally, I broke through and I went, David, and he woke up. And I explained it all to him, and he said, "Oh my God, I was having a dream about the same thing."
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's enough for now. Entonces estaba Pamela en la cama durmiendo con David Icke y de repente vio unos seres con unos dedos largos, muy demónicos, o sea, de apariencia muy demoníaca. Demoníaca es el término correcto en español, perdón. Y entonces, de nuevo, fue esta sensación de que como que se ahogaba y estaba Pamela tratando de gritar y David estaba durmiendo. Entonces, de repente, Pamela grita, David, y entonces se sorprendió porque David justo estaba teniendo un sueño donde sucedía esto mismo. Okay, I just translated, yes.
Okay, I'll share one more that's very nice before we go into Arizona.
Okay.
Because
now let me ask one question. These beings with the long spindly fingers, would you say they were ghosts, or would you say they were physical?
They were ghosts. They were in my mind's eye. I saw it's kind of like, if you could imagine gargoyles.
Gargoyles.
Yeah, they were long.
But do you think they had like but I mean, you saw them while awake, right?
Well, my eyes were open, but I was seeing them from my third eye, if that makes sense. I wasn't seeing them in the room, but I was. It was weird.
Okay, so we might say that they were kind of, probably you were seeing them with your mind's eye, so they were probably vibrational entities.
Well, it's kind of like this. If you imagine your physical being, and then you've got your aura, like
yes.
These layers of aura, I was seeing it from a different dimension. But
okay.
I was in it, and I was in 2 dimensions at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay, now I understand exactly what you mean. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sí,
yeah.
entonces Pamela explica que estos seres los estaba viendo un poco como con su tercer ojo, como que ella estaba con los ojos así entreabiertos y los veía con su tercer ojo, como que afectaban a Laura y estaban como casi en una dimensión un poco diferente, pero en la habitación. Yes, okay, great.
Yes. So the more beautiful one, again, there's many, but I'll share this and then we'll go on to other. When David and I were traveling in the Hopi Reservation in Arizona.
Okay. Entonces, you've traveled the world quite a bit. David y Pamela estaban en la reserva de los indios Hopi en Arizona. Yes.
Yes. It was a beautiful, tiny little place out in the middle of nowhere.
Había un sitio muy bonito en medio de ninguna parte, básicamente, sí.
Just a hotel that was, like a little hotel there.
Un pequeño hotel, sí.
We were in our room, and David was to my left. I was to the right. He was on the left side of the bed. I was on the right. I was on my back.
Vale, entonces David estaba a la izquierda, Pamela estaba a la derecha y Pamela estaba durmiendo boca abajo. You were sleeping with your back. Were you sleeping with your back on the bed or facing the bed?
I was my back on the bed. I was facing the ceiling.
Yes, con la espalda de Pamela sobre la cama y Pamela mirando hacia el techo, sí.
And David was on his left side, so his back was to me.
David estaba a la izquierda de Pamela con la espalda de David hacia Pamela. So David's back was facing you, right?
Sí.
Okay, great.
All of a sudden, I had my eyes were closed.
Los ojos de Pamela estaban cerrados.
There were many beings in the room, but they were beautiful.
Había muchos seres en la habitación, pero eran seres bonitos.
I was very aware of them.
Pamela era muy consciente de ellos.
They were floating all around me.
Estaban flotando todos alrededor de Pamela.
I had the covers over my chest.
You mean the covers?
Uh-huh.
Tenía las cubiertas de estos seres sobre el pecho de Pamela.
These beings were running their hands, not touching me, but from my head to my toes, their hands were hovering all up and down.
Las manos de estos seres estaban pasando de la cabeza a los pies de Pamela, arriba y abajo.
And I literally saw and felt the covers being pushed down, it was so tangible. It was so beautiful.
Vale,
I don't know what they were doing, but I think they were healing me.
Pamela sintió que estos seres como que se quitaban la cubierta y era muy, muy curioso porque era muy bonito porque era curativo.
It was just incredibly beautiful. And then a little bit later, David jumped out of bed.
Un poco después, David saltó de la cama.
Put his arms up, standing in the room.
Puso sus brazos hacia adelante, de pie en la habitación.
And said, "Can you feel them?"
Y dijo, ¿los puedes sentir?
I said, "Yes," and explained what just happened.
Y entonces Pamela dijo sí y explicó lo que había sucedido.
And they were still in the room.
Y todavía estaban en la habitación estos seres. Okay.
It was one of the most beautiful moments.
That's beautiful, Pamela.
Que no sé qué ha pasado.
Sí, que fue un momento emocionante para ella. Está llorando un poco, sí.
Bueno, tomemos tiempo.
Yeah, it was very beautiful.
Fue una experiencia muy bonita, sí.
La verdad que sí.
touches my heart.
Sí, el corazón de Pamela fue muy afectado por esta experiencia, sí.
And I send this feeling of love out to the world right now, this time.
Y Pamela envía todo este sentimiento de amor hacia todo el mundo ahora mismo, sí.
We are so not alone.
No estamos solos.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
but some of our companions are not good companions, Pamela? We have to get to this.
Well, when I say we are not alone,
Yeah.
this is true. But when I say that, I say that we are not alone in the positive sense.
In a positive sense, sí, sí. Pamela se refiere a que no estamos solos en el buen sentido, de que hay seres benignos que nos acompañan, sí.
Efectivamente es así. Sí, sí, por supuesto.
I hope that in reality, just I'm a realist, and we must be aware of the dark side, because it is making its presence known. I say, we as human beings cannot do this alone. So our family on the other side, not even on the other side, our family in those realms are working hard with us, because they're fighting them too.
Vale, Pamela dice que no podemos ganar esta batalla, digamos, los humanos solos, pero que nuestra familia, ya no al otro lado, sino esta familia de seres benignos, también están metidos en esto con nosotros.
This is no longer a science fiction movie, it's real.
Que esto ya no es una película de ciencia ficción, esto es real. Sí, I mean, we know that already, yes.
Yeah, it's waking up, absolutely. Yeah. Good, you all know this. This is great.
Okay, great. So now we can...
Okay, so on our travels as well, when I was waking up, one of the, or learning and experiencing,
Ya, Pamela seguía entonces con sus viajes, aprendiendo y sintiendo cosas, ¿sí?
I want the audience to please understand that, Pamela, I'm a very open-hearted, minded person.
Sí, Pamela quiere que la audiencia entienda que Pamela es una persona con el corazón y la mente muy abiertos, sí.
New information does not scare me.
La nueva información no le da miedo a Pamela, ¿no?
So we had gone to a conference where Bryce Taylor, that's her pen name, her writing name.
Yes. Entonces fueron a una conferencia en la cual estaba Bryce Taylor, cuyo nombre auténtico es Sue Ford, right?
Sí.
Right.
She was there. This is where I first met her.
Así que es aquí donde Pamela conoció por primera vez a Bryce Taylor, Sue Ford, cuyo nombre es Sue Ford, ¿sí?
Again, David was trying to help deprogram me because he thought I might be one of them because I had blonde hair, blue eyes, military bases.
Okay. Entonces, David estaba tratando de desprogramar a Pamela porque pensaba que Pamela podía ser otra persona controlada mentalmente, ya que tiene algunas de las rasgos típicos, tales como el pelo rubio, cabello rubio y que procede de una infancia en bases militares.
So please understand, in Pamela's mind, in my mind, I was open to the idea, of discovery, but I didn't think I was that.
Okay. Pamela estaba abierta al posible descubrimiento, pero no pensaba que ella fuera dicha operativa o agente controlada mentalmente, digamos.
David introduced me to Sue.
David introdujo a Pamela, hizo que Sue y Pamela se conocieran, ¿sí?
I went to the bathroom.
Pamela fue al baño.
David told me later.
David le dijo después.
That Sue said to him.
que Sue le había dicho a David
that I was even higher than she was.
que Pamela estaba incluso por encima en la jerarquía de lo que estaba Sue.
I didn't know what to do with that one.
Pamela no sabía lo que hacer con respecto a eso.
I met Barbara Marciniak at that conference as well.
Ah, okay. So you've met Barbara Marciniak. There you go. Okay, great. Entonces ahí Pamela conoció a Barbara Marciniak en esa conferencia también, sí.
Sí. I met everyone in the UFO community in '98 at the International UFO Conference in Laughlin.
Pamela conoció a prácticamente todo el mundo en el circuito ufológico de Estados Unidos en esa conferencia en Laughlin. Laughlin, Arizona?
Sí, Nevada.
Oh, sorry. Laughlin, Nevada. Sí, Nevada, sí.
It's okay. So, I'm trying to think, there's so much. So that's sort of the beginning of this journey of traveling. I think if you want to continue with Sue Ford and what happened there.
Well, you can tell us if there is something relevant or momentous that the audience ought to know.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so in this, the traveling that David and I did, David suggested that I go live with Sue Ford, who happened to have, she was renting a home in Las Vegas.
Vale, David sugirió que Pamela se fuese a vivir con Sue Ford, que había alquilado un apartamento en Las Vegas.
This was December of, I'm not sure of the year, but it's early 2000s, 2000 maybe.
Vale, esto era el comienzo del año 2000.
Yes, it had to be because David asked me to marry him 3 times.
Porque David le preguntó a Pamela que se casase le pidió a Pamela matrimonio 2 o 3 veces, sí.
And while I was at Sue's, he asked me there.
Mientras estaban en el apartamento de Sue, David le pidió matrimonio a Pamela, sí.
So this is giving me a timeline for my memory.
Esto le está dando una guía, una pauta cronológica para Pamela, sí.
So he drops me off in Vegas. I was there alone for 1 month with Sue Ford, where she was attempting to deprogram me.
Ah, ok. Entonces David le deja a Pamela en casa en el apartamento de Sue Ford, y Sue Ford trata durante 1 mes de desprogramar a Pamela.
I was doing everything to, open up altars, or wasn't I? Do I have past experiences? Was I a trauma-based, mind-controlled operative?
Vale, entonces Pamela estaba tratando de deducir si ella tenía alter egos, por así decirlo, compartimientos en su personalidad, si podía haber tenido experiencias traumáticas que lo hubieran controlado mentalmente, o si ella en definitiva era una agente programada mentalmente sin que ahora fuese consciente de ello, ¿no?
Sue Ford was also, as much as she has deprogrammed herself, she was still uncovering a lot of her own story as well.
Well, that's quite typical, yes. Sue Ford, aunque ya se había desprogramado a ella misma mucho, todavía estaba tratando de recuperar muchas memorias y aspectos que habían sido guardados en su vida anterior, sí.
So I was doing a lot of writing and drawing, and Sue would put me under these light things over my eyes. She had a machine. She was very good at what she did.
Pamela estaba dibujando y para expresarse, para sacar cosas reprimidas, y Sue le estaba poniendo como luces por encima de los ojos a Pamela y Sue sabía bien lo que hacía.
These are techniques to help people deprogram and bring out memories.
Estas son técnicas que ayudan a que la gente se desprograme y a que saquen memorias reprimidas, sí.
That are locked in there.
Memorias que puedan estar aprisionadas, guardadas, compartimentalizadas ahí. Sí.
During that month, we had a visitor who was the head of the Los Angeles FBI by the name of Ted Gunderson.
Ok.
Bueno, sí, sí.
Durante este tiempo fueron visitados por el jefe del FBI, el excelentísimo señor Ted Gunderson. Excelentísimo es mi comentario personal jocoso como traductor, porque algunos de la audiencia lo conocerán de nombre ya. Sí,
sí, que murió de cáncer, sí.
Yeah. He passed of cancer. He passed from cancer not too long ago. Yes.
Yes. I remember him coming in packed with a gun, and I said, "What do you need a gun for?" And he said it was for our protection.
Le apareció Ted Gunderson, esto es Estados Unidos, ¿no? Sí. Apareció Ted Gunderson con una pistola y le preguntó a Pamela, ¿para qué necesitas la pistola? Y dijo Ted Gunderson, para vuestra propia protección.
Hostia, qué bueno.
I was learning. I thought I didn't know I was in danger.
Pamela no sabía que ella podía estar en peligro, sí.
But I did see this. I did see the reality. I would have long conversations with Sue telling me her story. Her daughter, Kelly, came to live with us for a while.
Sí, esto era una realidad nueva para Pamela, que estaba aprendiendo, que Pamela estaba aprendiendo. La hija de Sue, que se llamaba Kelly, se fue a vivir con ellos, sí.
I could see the pattern happening. Kelly and Sue were called mother-daughter programs.
Vale. Sue y Kelly eran una pareja programada mentalmente que se llama programación madre e hija, sí.
Kelly is a name they use in the mind-controlled operations. It's a common name.
Kelly es un nombre común en operaciones de control mental.
Kelly was not supposed to watch certain television shows because it triggered her.
Okay. Kelly se supone que no tenía que ver ciertos programas de televisión porque podía hacer que podían estimularla y que saltase en aspectos de su programación, sí.
But I saw Kelly flip quite a few times.
Pero Pamela vio a Kelly cambiar de personalidad en algunas veces, sí.
One of Kelly's alters, what she's been programmed to do was to call her father, who was also programmed.
You mean this is one of Kelly's altered functions?
She would get triggered and she would go to the phone to call her father, and Sue would say, no. You know.
Okay.
So I was watching the whole thing.
Understood, yes. Entonces Kelly a veces le desencadenaban la programación y entonces una personalidad de ella programada se apoderaba de ella y ella iba al teléfono a llamar a su padre y su madre le decía, no lo llames, no. Okay, great.
And Ted Gunderson, I went out with him quite a bit, and I went to his apartment, and he talked about his mother. He had lots of photographs of presidents and himself on the walls and things like that. So for me, I'm trying to unravel my own life. Mm-hmm. I know too many people in positions of power, and I have the question mark over my head. I have missing time. So I don't know. I'm still trying to find out.
Okay. Sí, que entonces Pamela pues está todavía tratando de desentrañar el misterio de su vida, por decirlo así, Y entonces recuerda que vio a Ted Gunderson con fotos de personas poderosas. Pamela ha conocido a personas poderosas, pero Pamela sigue sin saber si los episodios en los cuales parece que le falta tiempo en sus experiencias pasadas, pues puede haber algo oculto ahí detrás.
While I was there, David called and he asked me to go outside. It was a full moon.
Cuando estaba ahí, David llamó a Pamela y le pidió que saliera afuera porque había una luna llena.
He asked me if I would marry him under the full moon.
Okay. Entonces David le pidió a Pamela que matrimonio bajo la luna llena, sí.
And the one thing I am curious about is if David thought or felt I was a trauma-based mind control person, so therefore I would have been traumatized and abused somehow, right? I thought, why would he put me in a home with a traumatized, multiple personality disordered person?
Well, presumably because he thought that Sue had already been substantially deprogrammed and could help you, I guess, you might think. But yeah, I wouldn't have done that myself, no.
Yeah, it comes into play later on, but it's okay. It's just what happened. But, you know, it was kind of interesting. So what came out of that after the month was I left. David came and picked me up. We left together. Nothing really came of it. Nothing was breaking open for me. So I had one moment, but it's irrelevant. So that was that.
Okay. May I ask you a question? Did you, David and I, because David got a chance to meet Mark Phillips and Kathy O'Brien, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I met them.
Oh, you met them too. Okay, that's interesting. Sí, entonces decir a la audiencia que Pamela junto a David también conoció, bueno, que Pamela conoció, David conoció y Pamela conoció a Mark Phillips y Kathy O'Brien, que también han sido, que Kathy O'Brien fue mentalmente controlada, es probablemente
también
el
se
caso.
llama Kelly, también la hija. De Kathy, la hija de Kathy es Kelly también.
That's right. Kathy's daughter is another Kelly. Yes.
Sí. Yes. There was something else. Arizona, Sue Ford, and we did that. It just runs so deep. There was another situation that happened I wanted to share, but it's kind of gone blank at the moment.
Okay.
Do you have any questions to?
No, that pertains to this part. No.
Okay. And Sue Ford was a presidential model. She, I don't know if people know this, but I have her book. If people want to get it, the details are extraordinary.
Yes.
She was telling me about Kissinger and how she could go in. She was a mind file. She could go in and open up a drawer of files and memorize documents. And she actually sat with Kissinger at meetings because she was a mind file, photographic memory. She was like his notebook. You know, he'd trigger her and she would rattle off what was necessary at that time.
Sí, Bryce Taylor, Sue Ford, era una modelo presidencial, que se dice, entonces tenía la habilidad, tenía memoria fotográfica, y entonces recuerda que tenía un archivo mental que estaba junto a Henry Kissinger y que podía memorizar documentos enteros, sí.
Yes, and like during that time that David was interviewing a lot of people for The Biggest Secret, again, I won't go over that because it's in his book. Personally, the private backstory, that was a big one with Sue Ford and what happened there. And then we had, I could go on to Arizona Wilder.
Yeah, I think we have to, yes.
Yeah, Brian Desborough. I remember, I think I met Arizona Wilder when David interviewed her for the Revelations of a Mother Goddess.
Okay. Entonces, Pamela conoció a Arizona Wilder cuando David la entrevistó para el vídeo que sería Revelations of the Mother Goddess, aunque también, this I add myself, segments of that went into the book The Biggest Secret too. Segmentos de esta entrevista también creo fueron a parar al libro The Biggest Secret. Yes.
You know, I do have another big time reptilian experience in Cairns, Australia, with David that was before Arizona. If you want
Okay, let's do the one in Cairns, as in Cairns.
Sí.
Okay, wow. Okay, then we can talk about that one, yes, before we go
Yeah.
to Arizona, yes.
Okay, this is a real big one.
Okay.
David and I.
Pues entonces continuamos, vale.
Sí.
Let's continue, yes.
Okay, so we were traveling Australia, and David was being contacted by invited by a gentleman by the name of Alphonse de Gil Gallo. I'll write it.
Okay, yes, please.
Alphonse de Gil Gallo. Parece portugués, ¿no, Alphonse?
Sí. David Icke fue invitado por un personaje llamado Alphonse de Gil Gallo y una de los vinos Gallo, los vinos Gallo, y por este motivo fue a Australia. Sí.
Yes. I have a picture. I shall send it to you.
Okay.
No, yes, I'll send that photograph to you. So he was invited. Now he admitted he was a 33rd degree Freemason.
Okay. Alphonse de Gil Gallo admitió que era un masón de 33 grado.
He was actually Alphonse. There was another gentleman an elderly gentleman who was afraid to meet David or didn't want to meet David.
Había otro caballero ya mayor de edad que tenía miedo, no quería conocer a David Icke.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid. He just didn't want to meet.
No tenía miedo, es que no quería conocer a David Icke. Sí. Okay.
So we met Alphonse, and he gave us the tour of the War Memorial in Cairns.
Vale, conocieron entonces a Alphonse y les dio un tour del Memorial de la Guerra de la ciudad de la localidad de Cairns en Australia.
He took us to the we walked around let me just I need to pull this up. What is it called? It was the official whatever you call the building, the official building where like the White House or of Cairns.
Yeah, you mean the seat of government?
Yeah, and it was very beautiful. It had slope. It was almost like a pyramidal, not the building, but the land. It sloped up, and it was grassy. And then you had on the top of that hill area, the land, was the long building where the courts and all of that was the presidente or what.
Yes. Sí, que había una colina con césped y arriba de la colina había un edificio largo y es ahí donde estaba la sede un edificio imponente, que ahí estaba la sede del gobierno y de la judicatura y de todo eso.
Sí, and he said that he was explaining that on this grassy knoll, he said that there are silo missiles.
Vale, Alfonso estaba explicando que en esta colina con césped había misiles.
Yes, they would. If you came into Cairns airspace and you were not supposed to be there, they were silo missiles that would come up underground and fire from there.
Vale, si invadías el espacio aéreo y no eras bienvenido, pues entonces los misiles podían salir de ahí y sorprenderte y atacarte, ¿no?
Yes, so we got a tour of that. We went inside and everything. And at the War Memorial,
Dieron el tour, pasaron por dentro del edificio y tal, y cuando llegaron al Memorial de la Guerra,
the reason why he wanted to meet up with David was to share a few things.
el motivo por el cual quería conocer a David era para compartir una serie de cosas.
While we were touring the War Memorial, inside there were, we would stop because he said that everything's being recorded, so he kind of whispered to us this.
Vale, entonces cuando estaban visitando el Memorial de Guerra pararon y les advirtieron de que, bueno, sabían que todo estaba siendo grabado y entonces se susurraron lo siguiente.
The conversation went to, Alphonse admitted that young boys would be sodomized, and it was at that time that the sodomizer gained the energy that they were desiring.
At what time?
In rituals and what these reptilians do.
And that took place there at the War Memorial or thereabouts?
He just happened to be explaining it to us at that moment.
Yeah, but the rituals took place there in that location or somewhere else?
No, we were just there at the memorial, and that conversation was
okay.
Yeah.
Sí, entonces Alfonso le explicó a David que, bueno, chicos jóvenes son sodomizados y quieren aprovecharse de la energía de ellos, sí.
So that was verified and explained that David already knew about, we already knew about, but he was confirming that that's what happens.
Vale, eso David ya lo sabía, pero Alfonso estaba confirmando que esto sucedía, sí.
This is where it gets interesting. We were walking to, I wish I could remember the name of the place, but it's very, very well known. It's a very tall, it's an area, and it's a very tall, very, very tall, with a restaurant that spins at the top.
Okay. Pamela recuerda que hay un edificio muy, muy alto con un restaurante giratorio arriba del todo.
I'm going to try and find it. So what happened was, as we were walking into this area, the only way I can describe it is I can tell everyone, guaranteed, Cairns is a portal. It's a stargate.
Vale, cuando entraron a ese restaurante, Pamela tuvo la sensación, y lo puede garantizar ahora, de que Cairns es una especie de portal estelar de comunicación, de intercambio con otros seres remotos.
Yes, because it was so tangible.
Era tan palpable.
When the air that we were walking in, I could almost see the line between the air that we were walking in. I could see just it shortly in the distance. It was like liquid, like the field of air. It was like a wall of liquid, but moving air. It was, how do you describe that? It was literally like walking into a different field of energy. It was a portal. It was the boundaries of entering into a place that was very different than out there.
And that was the Swiveling restaurant?
No, this was before we even got there.
Oh, okay. No, esto fue antes de que entraron al restaurante giratorio, que entonces Pamela tuvo la sensación de que estaban en un portal, en un sitio diferente, la energía era totalmente diferente y parecía como que había cambiado y que el aire como que había una energía como líquida, como de un líquido.
Yes. And so we entered that. I was aware of it. We entered it. Then we went into the bottom, the base of this towering building thing. At the very top is the restaurant. We go to the top. And it's a spinning, slowly spinning. So we had this wonderful view. We sat. Alphonse was sitting across from David and I. He was sitting right in front of David, and I to David's left.
Vale, entonces fueron a este restaurante giratorio arriba de la torre, que es desde el que se tiene una visión muy bonita, y Alfonso estaba sentado justo al lado de David. Sí.
In our conversation, he went on to say whether, I was open to it, but he said that he saw David as a particular species. And I remember him mentioning, I think he said that he saw me as a fish type, and David as a something, I don't remember, but that was the conversation going on there.
In other words, Alfonso regarded you two as belonging to different species than he was.
Yeah. It was.
Sí, entonces Alfonso habló a David y a Pamela refiriéndose a estos como que formaban parte de una especie diferente a la suya.
Yes, but the most important thing was Alphonse was very tall, very, very strong, dark hair. I wish I said you could see the picture. But the eerie thing, the very surreal thing, was the fact that this area was like a vortex. It was, I was in another world, right? I was in another world. And so there were a few things that happened during that time, but the most specific thing that I'd like to share with everyone was, Karen's, first of all, I'd like people to know that is a portal. It is a Stargate. There's something very off-world there. Off-world.
Vale. Sí, que Alfonso era una persona fuerte, alta, y bueno, que Pamela tenía la sensación clarísima de que este lugar en Cairns es un portal, es un sitio que no es de este mundo o está en comunicación con entidades que no son de este mundo.
And what happened was with Alphonse, I'm trying to remember when he first exposed himself to me as a reptilian, because it happened twice, and I for some reason I can't remember the first time, but the second time was when we were going to the airport, and he was dropping us off.
Vale, entonces iban ya hacia el aeropuerto y Alfonso les iba a dejar en el aeropuerto.
And we were sitting at a table at the airport.
Estaban sentados en una mesa en el aeropuerto.
David was to my left. Alphonse was in front of him across the table.
David estaba a la izquierda de Pamela y Alfonso estaba enfrente, al otro lado de la mesa.
And again, well, Alphonse turned to look at me. It was very deliberate. He wanted me to see him.
Alfonso se dirigió hacia Pamela y era muy deliberado. Alfonso quería que Pamela viera esto.
When he looked at me, he shifted. He shape-shifted. In his eyes, very different than Vancouver. When in his eyes, they were shimmering. They were shimmering there was no color really. It was just like a shimmering water in a way, just shimmering. And he was almost like twinkling his eyes at me, to me. And I was watching him. It wasn't scary. Yeah. He was just almost like saying hello. Okay. And I saw it and it was fine.
Okay. Entonces Alfonso de repente sus ojos cambiaron. Desarrollaron un brillo, era como un agua brillante y como que estaban parpadeando. y como que Alfonso quería que a Pamela viera eso para saludarle a Pamela en la forma normal de Alfonso, por decirlo así.
He did it not to scare me. He did it because I think, well, he obviously knew I wouldn't be scared. And I think he did it, it was actually quite endearing. It was precious to me.
Okay.
He showed himself.
Alfonso no quería meterle miedo a Pamela, sabía que Pamela esto no le iba, bueno, que lo iba a entender. Y era incluso una cosa, no diríamos cariñosa, pero agradable. Yeah, because he knew you wouldn't be surprised by this. Is that what you're implying?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And it was actually quite beautiful. It was
Era
almost...
tenía era de hecho una cosa bella, tenía una belleza así. ¿Sí, Juan?
Sí, estoy escuchando.
Ah, sí.
Yeah, it was just, it was almost like he was saying we're here, but not all are bad.
Vale, Alfonso quería decir, estamos aquí, pero no todos nosotros somos malos.
And when I went to hug him goodbye, it was more confirmation. When I gave him a hug goodbye, he was like a rock. And that's not human. That's not human.
Ok, cuando Pamela le dio la despedida, notó que él estaba duro, pero como una roca, pero como que aquello no era humano, ¿no?
Sí. And that's pretty much Cairns, but I mean, there's more detail, but I think that's enough for now.
Let me ask you a question. Did Alfonso's facial expressions change, or was it just his eyes?
Oh, no, just his eyes.
His eyes.
Mm-hmm. He was face was just his face, calm, just natural. But his eyes did all this stuff.
Sí, Juan, que solo le cambiaron los ojos, no le cambió ninguna expresión de la cara, ¿eh?
Curioso todo esto. Al final uno se da cuenta que vivimos acompañados de razas buenas y de razas malas también, pero es importante saber que no todo es malo. Eso es lo que podemos interpretar de lo que está explicando y me alegro que esté, desvelando lo que hay dentro de estos círculos, ¿no?
Sí.
Lo que quiero apuntalar sin interrumpir porque creo que es importante oír esto.
Sí, lo es, sí. Yes, they're not all bad. That's what Juan is saying. Okay. Yeah. Now we can move forward to the Arizona episode if you want to.
Sí.
Okay.
So I first met Arizona during the interview of the video. I was in the room at that time when that was happening. And then we were invited to...
Stop 1 second. Entonces, Pamela conoció a Arizona Wilder durante la entrevista para Revelations of a Mother Goddess. Pamela estaba en la habitación en la cual esto sucedió. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We were invited to Brian Desborough's home in California. I think it was Yorba Linda.
Yorba Linda, that's correct, yes. Fueron invitados a la casa de Brian Desborough en Yorba Linda, California.
Mm-hmm. And Arizona was living with him because they were a couple.
Okay. Arizona estaba viviendo con Brian porque eran pareja entonces, sí.
This one time we were there for at least one night.
Estuvieron ahí durante al menos una noche, sí.
This particular moment, we were sitting at the table. Well, I'll back up actually.
Vale.
Arizona was sharing a lot with me.
Arizona estaba compartiendo muchas cosas con Pamela.
We were sitting in the living room together on the edge of a step on the floor.
Estaban sentados en el dormitorio juntos al borde de las escaleras en el suelo. They were sitting on the floor?
Sí.
Okay.
On the step. It was a carpeted step. That looked
estaban sentados como en un escalón que estaba cubierto por una moqueta.
Sí. And she
por una alfombra. Sí, go ahead.
She brought out a satchel a little satchel, you know, with the tie. It's a cloth satchel. And
Cloth satchel, how should we translate this?
It's like a cloth thing that she had a necklace in it, and you could pull strings, draw strings to tighten it. It's a little sack.
Entonces sacó una cartera con unas joyas dentro.
Bolsa.
Sí, una bolsa con unas joyas dentro, sí.
Bolsa?
Sí, pero cartera es mejor, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. So Arizona brought a satchel?
Yes, she was sitting to my right, and she was sharing stories. She was sharing a story. She also gave me a video, a VHS that I have of her in a hallway on a hospital bed thingy. And this video shows her multiple times flipping from one personality to the other.
Vale. Arizona le dio un vídeo en VHS que la muestra como en una cama en un hospital, que cambiando de personalidad de una personalidad a otra, pero como varias veces muy marcado, ¿no?
My heart goes out to Arizona so much.
Vale. Pamela se compadece mucho de corazón por Arizona, sí.
Yeah, for what she's endured.
Debido a lo que Arizona ha tenido que aguantar, sí.
Sí. So she's sitting there and she has this, she opens up the pouch and pulls out this, it's called a headdress.
Vale, entonces saca de esta cartera, saca esta especie de diadema de la cabeza, sí.
It's almost like a crown, but it's not a crown. It's a very, it lays on top of her head and falls along her head to the back. It's like a headdress, but it's beads and, you know, it's very elegant.
Sí, es como una especie de una especie de diadema de cabeza que es muy bonito, que sale de arriba de la cabeza y baja hasta abajo.
Yes, and she told me that.
My goodness, yes. Es una especie de diadema del cual salen una especie de hilos o a los lados, sí. Unos colgantes a los lados, sí, largos.
Mm-hmm. Yes. She pulled it out. And,
Sí, entonces Arizona la sacó, sí.
And told me that it was the headdress that she used when she did her rituals.
Arizona explicó que esta era la diadema que ella usaba cuando hacía sus rituales.
As well as the rituals with the royal family.
Así como los rituales con la familia real.
And we move on to sitting at the table in the dining area.
Entonces fueron a la mesa en el cenáculo, en la mesa del comedor, sí.
I'm sitting facing the living room.
Pamela está sentada enfrente del dormitorio.
Behind me are sliding glass doors to the garden.
Detrás de ella hay puertas corredizas que van al jardín.
Arizona is to my left and Brian is to my right.
Arizona está a la derecha de Pamela y Brian Desborough está a la izquierda.
David is in the middle of the living room over there.
David está en mitad del salón, ahí enfrente.
We're having a conversation and Arizona has this headdress in the palms of her hand in her lap.
Están teniendo la conversación y Arizona tiene esta diadema con las palmas de su mano en su vientre.
She was flipping it in and out of her palms.
Arizona estaba, bueno, pues moviendo y girando esta diadema de un lado al otro, sí.
So I was in the conversation, my eyes were drawn to her turning it over and over in her palms of her hands.
Entonces Pamela le estaba mirando y le estaba viendo cómo estaba girando Arizona esta diadema una y otra vez en las palmas de sus manos, sí.
And all of a sudden, I started to scream.
Y de repente Pamela empezó a gritar.
Pointing to the headdress.
Apuntó a la diadema.
Something entered my being and my heart was palpitating, my whole body was palpitating.
Algo entró en el ser de Pamela y el corazón de Pamela estaba palpitando furiosamente.
It was very intense.
Era muy intenso.
We all got up and we went outside. They realized what was happening.
Se levantaron, se marcharon afuera, los otros se dieron cuenta de lo que estaba sucediendo.
Something was provoked, an entity came out of that headdress and into me.
Una entidad salió de esa diadema y trató de entrar en el cuerpo de Pamela, sí.
I was dealing with what I was dealing with in the garden. I had Brian with me and they set up on the table a cleansing area.
Vale, estaban en el jardín y entonces pusieron en la mesa una zona de curación energética, digamos, de limpieza energética.
So whatever they did, it took a little bit of time, but I eventually cleared it out of my body.
Llevó un poco de tiempo, pero lograron sacar a esa cosa, esa entidad energética de su cuerpo, sí.
And we performed a cleansing at the table altogether of this headdress.
Entonces hicieron una limpieza energética de esta diadema junto a la mesa, sí.
So, as far as Arizona Wilder's validity,
en cuanto a lo que se refiere a la validez de Arizona Wilder,
my position,
la posición de Pamela,
is Arizona is truthful.
Arizona dice la verdad.
Her story is real.
Su historia es real.
I believe that she did attend the rituals that she describes.
Pamela opina que Arizona asistió a los rituales que ella describe.
She said that she would stand in the middle of a pentagram to hold off the entities that were the demons that wanted to come through, but she was there to hold them back.
When at the rituals or at that moment with that entity?
She described one of the things that she did was
okay.
Yeah.
Arizona describía cómo estaba situada en el interior del pentagrama para mantener fuera las entidades. She was inside the pentagram to ward off the entities, you say?
Her powers and skills were to, in these rituals, one of them was to hold off, the demons from entering into this space and time.
Sí, uno de los poderes de Arizona era mantener a los demonios fuera y que no entraran en este espacio y tiempo, sí.
Because we need to understand that this is happening all the time. There are entities coming and going from Earth all the time.
Hay entidades que están entrando y saliendo de la Tierra todo el rato.
Some good, some bad.
Algunas son buenas y otras son malas.
I've heard there are probably about 160 different species of beings coming and going on this planet.
Oh, okay. You're talking about extraterrestrials and all that in general.
Sí.
En general, incluyendo los extraterrestres, hay, dice Pamela, 160 especies que están entrando y saliendo de la Tierra todo el rato, sí.
So this is very real.
Todo esto es muy real.
And Arizona Wilder is, in my book, in my view, is telling the truth. She has gone off. I think she said she would go off in the middle of the night and things like this. Everything that Arizona is talking about and has said, in my view, for the most part, is true. What she told David, I believe, is true, because it fits. It fits everything else that I've heard, even from others, from Sharon at the Tabernacle, the Mormon Tabernacle in Salt Lake, her experiences, and Sue Ford's experiences, and then others. So it all fits. There's a common theme. There might be some things that might be off. I've never heard anything that's been off, though. But as far as working with the royal family, I bet my life on it that she's telling the truth on that one. That the royal family shapeshifts, that the queen is not who she is. Bet my life that she's correct on that one.
Yeah.
That the world is so not what we've been told.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bueno, pues esto es muy importante. Pamela dice que todo lo que declaró Arizona en The Biggest Secret y The Revelations of the Mother Goddess, que por lo menos ella decía la verdad y que estuvo en los rituales con la familia real y que la familia real cambia la forma reptiliana y que el mundo no es lo que nos habían dicho que era. So we can say that you positively believe that Arizona was being truthful when she declared what she declared for The Biggest Secret and for the Revelations of the Mother Goddess video, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I can give people kind of an analogy of how it's possible to have shape-shifting.
Oh, I think we can save that for the very end.
Okay.
Let's just walk through all the experiences and we'll talk about this because we'll do another part of the interview. We'll talk about that towards the end.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, because may I inject here the remark that years later Arizona seems to have retracted. She seems to say that she made up that interview and all that. Is this relevant to say now?
Sure.
Yes. Sí, porque es que años después Arizona Wilder ya en su blog ahora desmiente, dice que la programaron y que todo lo que contó en The Biggest Secret y Revelations of the Mother Goddess, que fue una actuación, que fue mentira, que no era ella misma diciendo eso. Entonces es importante oír lo que tiene que decir Pamela al respecto porque ella estuvo ahí con Arizona y con Brian Desborough. So in your view, you don't think that Arizona was forced to put up an act when she said what she said for The Biggest Secret and Revelations of the Mother Goddess, right?
Absolutely not. She was very voluntary.
Right. No, Arizona no estaba actuando, no estaba fingiendo en Revelations of the Mother Goddess o lo que dijo para el libro El Mayor Secreto, que en español, que en inglés es The Biggest Secret. Arizona estaba siendo genuina. Vale. Entonces, bueno, pues deducimos que fuerzas mayores la habrán obligado a Arizona a desmentir el testimonio después y no queremos entrar en eso. So we suppose that years later, other forces will have gotten hold of Arizona and may have coerced her into denying the interview, but the interview is genuine because you can attest to that, right, Pamela?
Yes, and the thing that I would suggest is that the points are she said what she said, and it correlates with others, and it makes the theme is too strong.
Yeah.
And I don't like to guess or even plant a guessing idea of what could have happened to her later on, because that plants new ideas in the minds of people to mantraize that in the public. So, but the thing is, the point is that she said it. Is it possible that if she did come out to try to retract it, the point for that would be what you said, that I suppose we could.
we can only imagine or speculate at this point, you know.
Yeah, basically something happened for her to change her mind.
Basically something happened, yes.
Whatever that is, we don't know. She could have been flipped, triggered, or
even programmed. But we can only speculate. We have no proof.
Yes. For me to come out like that, knowing program multiples, these are just triggers. But what she did in my time with her was consistent. So that, and for her to come out later, I dismiss it. I just completely dismiss it, because I listen and I'll go, no, that doesn't make sense. That I love you so much, Arizona. Because also I can add this. We have to really go with the focus, right? The root of the issue and topics that we're trying to expose. Mm-hmm. And you know these things for a fact. Sometimes I say, this is why one must sometimes follow their heart and not wait for knowledge.
Right.
Because the devil's in the detail. Keep busy on the farm, you know? So no, they want to keep us in constant confusion. So no, we have to make up our mind and stick with it.
Yes.
One thing that I have a letter from her that she wrote actually to David. And it was saying things not so nice about me. But this was later on. So I'm thinking, we hadn't seen each other for a while. David is who he is. She writes a letter, because David's still searching, is Pamela or isn't she, right? And I'm thinking, well, David, just come ask me. You know, follow your intuition. Just ask your wife. If you have a question about her, ask her. Don't ask a third-party psychic. So,
yeah.
The letter, do you want to say this in Spanish?
Yes, it's a mouthful so far. I'll be brief because I'll just convey the gist of what you said. Sí, el comportamiento de Arizona durante la entrevista con Brian y con Pamela, a Pamela le llegó al corazón como que era algo genuino. Y esa es la impresión. Entonces ya lo que después sucedió en Pamela no lo puede saber, no lo podemos saber. Lógicamente alguien le hizo a Arizona cambiar de opinión y de hecho, pero Pamela dice que lo importante es seguir al corazón y que no nos perdamos en los detalles del conocimiento, que lo importante es seguir al corazón y no esperar a que nos llegue el conocimiento. Y entonces, o a que nos lleguen los detalles a través de la mente del conocimiento. Y entonces hay que ir a la raíz del conocimiento. Y después hay una carta escrita por Arizona a David Icke en que habla de algunas cosas, no pone a David Icke muy bien. Y porque claro, David Icke seguía dudando de Pamela y seguía dudando de si Pamela podía haber sido programada o no y tal, y tenía sus dudas, y Pamela dice que lo que David Icke tenía que haber hecho o podía haber hecho era preguntarle a Pamela, su mujer, directamente. Okay, I think I did my best to translate all that. Yes, Pamela, thank you.
Thank you very much, Conrado. Yes, it's the letter and all of that, when I read it, I'm thinking she was trying to discredit me to David.
What year was this letter roughly in?
I don't remember. It had to have been, it was after we were married, so it was after 2001.
Okay. Sí, que en una carta de después del año 2001, después de que se casaron Pamela y David, Arizona estaba tratando de desacreditar a Pamela. Arizona was trying to discredit you in the eyes of David, right?
Sí, sí.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you, Conrado, again, if you don't mind, about, you said that Sean was the webmaster.
Yes, I can share that. Yes. Yeah, I think he was Sean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was Sean, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not sure. But now that you mentioned the name Sean, I guess it could have been him. Yes, around that time I was living with Cisco Wheeler, who's another deprogram former slave, right? And Cisco and I, of course, Cisco is a fundamentalist Christian, right? Okay, but Cisco and I had our doubts about you, Pamela, as well. And so we kind of vented our doubts to the webmaster of David Icke's webmaster, who, as you say, must have been Sean at that time. And I remember we received a reply from him saying something to the effect that, yes, Pamela might be a mole, might be an agent sending to discredit or derail David Icke, and that she is the kind of person that I've been warning David Icke about for all these years. This was the reply of this webmaster. And now that you mentioned that the name Sean, I think it must have been Sean, but I'm not sure though.
Let me clarify that if I could, please.
Okay.
With some evidence. When we were building the website, we needed a webmaster, so I put out a call.
Okay. Sí, cuando estaban montando la página web de David Icke, necesitaban al que llevara la página web, entonces Pamela puso un anuncio, ¿no?
So I gave David the list of responses.
Pamela le dio a David la lista de respuestas.
The people who were qualified to fill the position.
La gente que estaba con cualificaciones para esa posición.
And it was David who chose who he wanted.
Y fue David quien eligió la persona que él quería.
And after moving way forward,
rebobinando hacia adelante, digamos.
After I left David,
cuando dejé a David,
Sean came to me.
Sean se dirigió a Pamela.
Talking bad about David.
Hablando mal de David.
Sí, a la inversa. Primero a ella y después a David. Es típico. Esto es, yo quiero decir una cosa. Yo estoy seguro, y no es por acusar, pero yo creo que ese sujeto podría ser COINTERPRO. Porque la agencia de contrainteligencia hace eso, ¿no? Hablan mal de uno y después hablan del otro. No, coméntaselo para... La posible ella le suena ese COINTERPRO y te puede decir algo.
Yes, it's Juan's guess that, Sean may, that Juan wouldn't be surprised if this Sean may have been COINTELPRO or some kind of intel person, who's just trying to sow discord and badmouth one person and then badmouth the other person,
I think that it was all innocent in the beginning, and Sean was our webmaster the whole time. Sean worked with David even when they opened up the People's Voice media company. Okay. And there were problems there as well. So you see, people, this is why it's so important.
Okay, let me stop. No, Pamela dice que fue bastante o muy inocente desde el comienzo y que Sean le ayudó a David Icke, que de hecho le ayudó luego a David Icke a montar The People's Voice, que es un medio alternativo de comunicación. Sí.
Vale.
Yeah. I mean, this all ties in from my view. We won't go into it, but I'll just mention this about, it's a whole nother topic. And it's Royal Adams who came into the picture with Bridge of Love and our work.
Oh, maybe it was Royal Adams who wrote to Cisco and me. Maybe it was Royal Adams. I think it was Royal Adams,
Oh, he said that he was the one who was concerned about me.
I think so. Now that you mention Royal Adams, I think he may have been Royal Adams. But, okay. My memory isn't that good. You would need to hypnotically regress me. But now that you mention Royal Adams, it could have been Royal Adams.
Well, that makes sense then. That makes sense.
Que a lo mejor, vale, sí. Porque a lo mejor la persona que hablaba mal de Pamela era Royal Adams, sí.
And just a little snippet is Royal Adams went to prison.
Oh, okay.
But
Royal Adams fue a prisión.
Because he stole money from David.
Porque Royal Adams robó dinero de David Icke. Uy, lo que sale aquí.
Madre mía.
we went to court for that, and there's a whole story about Royal Adams. We could do a half an hour or hour segment just on that to explain it. My role and what happened and how I was had the bricks thrown at me as I was being accused of bringing Royal Adams into the fold, and David thinking, because David was being given false information from third parties, trying to keep David in confusion about his own wife and my role, and he's thinking, Pamela, he put me together with Royal Adams as if Royal and I came in as a pair to discredit David. Wrong. Big no.
Ese Conrado, ¿qué te ha pasado? Te han venido arriba.
Esto es ya mucha información para traducir de golpe. Pero a ver, básicamente en aquel entonces había agentes externos, terceras personas, que le decían a David Icke que Pamela era malaje, que era una mala persona o que les estaba haciendo daño o una influencia negativa. Y bueno, ya me he perdido, pero lo que me ha dicho tiene mucho sentido, sí.
And I had a phone when David and I were living in our apartment in Arizona before we were married. This is interesting. Again, I'm new to it. Somehow Cisco Wheeler came into the conversation. David suggested, because David knows Fritz and all of that.
Okay, yes, we need to get into this, yes. Okay, so let's see. You were then living where?
David and I had an apartment in Arizona together.
Right. In Scottsdale?
Scottsdale.
Vale. Entonces, David y Pamela estaban en Scottsdale en un apartamento en Arizona, sí.
This address in Scottsdale was actually listed in David's books.
Books as the Bridge of Love address for the U.S., yes.
So while we were there one time, I made a phone call to Cisco.
Cuando estaban ahí una vez, Pamela llamó a Cisco.
Because David, again, was thinking Cisco could maybe help me.
Porque entonces David Icke pensaba que Cisco Wheeler podía ayudar a Pamela Richards. Okay, good.
And this is where something magical happened for me. It was beautiful, actually. I was on the phone with Cisco, and
Vale.
all she said was, close your eyes.
Okay, stop. Stop. Estaba Pamela hablando con Cisco Wheeler por teléfono y Cisco Wheeler le dijo, cierra tus ojos. Sí, go ahead.
So when I closed my eyes, immediately this is very lucid.
Cuando Pamela cerró sus ojos, esto era muy lúcido, sí.
It was like if you can imagine, my consciousness was in a cave that was beautiful sand color, kind of sandy colored,
Vale.
in a cave.
Okay.
But it was huge. It was huge.
Vale. Ya. Entonces, al cerrar los ojos, la conciencia de Arizona estaba como en una cueva que era muy enorme.
So my consciousness was up in the back corner of the cave, looking into it.
La conciencia de Pamela estaba en un rincón de la cueva mirando hacia la misma, sí.
It was more like a cavern, huge.
Era como una caverna gigante, sí.
So what I was seeing was like the flatness of the ground, and on the other side was a arch which went deep somewhere, and it was black. It was an arch that it was black because it was deep. If you walked into this arched area that goes back, I couldn't see. It was just black, because like that. Also, if you imagine the flat ground, the surface of the floor of the cavern, there was also like a dugout pit, very kind of large, but not, it was shallow. It was deep enough, like a bowl cut out, deep enough to probably like 8 feet deep. And it was like this, like a round sort of a bowl, cake cut out bowl in this cavern.
Ok, pues había en esta cueva arriba, en el suelo plano, había como un arco y luego había como una cosa excavada como un bowl, como una cavidad redonda excavada. I'm not sure if I got this right, but yeah, go ahead.
I wish I could give you a picture. I'm so
That's
visual.
fine. So it was like an arch on the ground above the cave, right?
No, if you're inside the cavern, you've got the ceiling and you've got the floor.
Yes.
And on the other side of the wall of the cave, is there was an arch, which means it was dug out. It's an arch that you enter into another area somewhere. It goes deep. But it was black. The hole that you enter, that archway that you enter, I saw it as black because it was so dark. It goes deep somewhere.
So it was like a carving into the rock on the other side of the wall inside the cave.
Yes.
Okay.
Sí,
era como una... No, el arco no estaba encima del suelo, encima de la caverna, no, lo he traducido mal. Era dentro de la caverna, en el muro de la caverna, había como una cosa excavada, un hueco, que era con la forma de un arco que seguía hacia adentro y era negro. Okay, good.
Sí. And what I was seeing in the pit, I'll call it the pit, there was a little girl with blonde hair. She must have been about, I'd say about 6 years old. And there was a standing mirror in front of her, like an oval, large mirror. And,
vale. Entonces vi en ese arco negro, vi como una niña como de unos 6 años que estaba con un espejo. She was like inside the arch, right?
She was standing on the floor of that part of the cave that was carved out.
Okay.
She was down there in the pit.
No, ella no estaba en el arco, no, estaba en el suelo de la caverna, sí. Bueno, sí.
And the strange thing is that I was seeing the back of this little girl's head. I knew that it was me as a girl.
De la caverna.
Pamela podía ver que esta niña con el espejo, cuando la niña se miraba al espejo no había reflejo. Y yo podía reconocer que esta niña era la propia Pamela de pequeña, sí. All right, you can go on.
Okay, so I see the little girl looking in the mirror. She has no face in the reflection, blank, which is probably symbolic of something I don't know. Then I look up, and out from the dark arch, out of that walks a very tall, could have been 8 feet tall from my perception, white, long, spindly legs, very spindly body, long arms and spindly fingers, long spindly fingers, white with the oval eyes. And the head was long, it was just all long, and it was so beautiful.
Okay, but this is something you were seeing inside your mind at this point when Cisco triggered you.
In the cavern? No. She just said, close your eyes. I was experiencing it. Everything was silence in my apartment, and Cisco said nothing. I was in another world, and I shared that, of course, when I came back. But I'm telling you what happened when I closed my eyes, and all of this was happening for me.
Vale.
And when the being walked out of that cave, it was inviting me to come in, but it walked out. The connection was telepathic, and it was so loving, but it turned and walked into I was to follow, but I was too afraid to go in. I didn't go in.
Okay. Sí, entonces mientras esto lo veía Pamela con los ojos cerrados cuando estaba hablando con Cisco por teléfono, pero Pamela estaba sola en su apartamento y lo estaba viendo esto en su mente. Y entonces de esta caverna apareció este ser como de más de 2 metros y pico de altura, blanco, con piernas largas y delgadas y dedos delgados y por supuesto ojos ovalados y era un ser pues incluso amoroso, pero Pamela no le siguió. Sí, okay.
See, and then I came back, I explained it. I don't remember anything after the conversation with Cisco. That was just my moment with her. And I've not spoken to her since. No need to.
Uh-huh. Y esta fue la conversación que Pamela tuvo con Cisco Wheeler y no ha vuelto a hablar con ella ya, no ha tenido la necesidad.